In progress.
Hey, you're good. Hi.
All right, so can you hear me?
It doesn't sound.
There it is.
There we
Got it.
go.
Okay.
Oh, you have to push. Turn it on right. Okay. Yours isn't on.
You just the middle, the big button. All right, so we're starting the meeting here for Thursday, February 27th, the Heritage Preservation Board. We'll start by taking roll. Hillary Culhane, present. Lelia.
Amelia Longtoe present.
Rich Storick, present.
Okay, so we have a quorum. And all right, so do we have any public comment on matters not on the agenda through the webinar or in person?
Got no hands up on the webinar.
No hands up, okay.
I
All
think
right.
you guys are here for the step discussion, right? The Baltimore
The
steps?
steps, and as it relates to just the greater beautification of the bike path.
Okay, well, that is on the agenda. So,
Yes. All right, so planning staff's oral report.
yeah, yes, okay, that's all. Let me pull up my notes here. Just a couple announcements for you. The plaque project is finally progressing. I think they'll be shipped out soon. There's one last bit of payment that, it's been approved by Public Works, and Finance will cut the check next week. And then all of that, the items will be shipped to the Public Works Maintenance Yard, and I don't know exactly when they will be installing them, but I can give you an update when that occurs. I imagine not too long after, they receive everything. You have a question? Sorry.
I did, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. Will they notify us before they proceed with the installation?
I can let you know when, I haven't spoken to Julian about exactly what, who's gonna handle it, other than the superintendent will, I think, take charge of it, but in terms of when everything will be installed and who's doing it specifically, I'll find that out for you and I can let you know.
Okay,
Some of it is determined, I mean, the general gist of the area. What's underneath the sidewalk, like pipes and wires and they know that, so
Yeah.
they have to
They've,
drill down and put them in
they've
a
got,
secure, safe place.
they've got to figure that out, and then they also have to make sure that the locations are ADA compliant, so that's the other hoop to jump through, but I don't think I don't expect any issues with that. And I'll just note for the record that Metrical Walk is here at 6:04. And then my next announcement is actually a little more fun. We had a member of the public stop by the office today and donate a couple of items that I think the board would be interested in. He is from a family that used to reside at 421 Holcomb. And so he provided us with the original blueprint plans, actual from when they were actually blueprints and not CAD files. And then I think most interestingly, he provided some, I think it was a postcard that was sent out by the Blue Rock when it first opened.
the hotel?
Yes, and let's see, it's from a time where you could have a children's dinner for 85 cents. And then there's a courtesy credit card from the Blue Rock for the meals there. And then this is a photo of his next door neighbor, Betty Havey, who was the owner and operator of the Blue Rock Hotel. And then on top of that, this is a letter. I was trying to figure out the to and the from, but I think it's from this person's mother to a Miss Moore. And one of them was selected. I can't figure out which one. One of them was selected to be the queen of the Larkspur Rose Bowl opening dance in 1928. So this is the typewritten letter where there's going to confer about the details. So I've got all this for you if you want to check it out. He also had lots of old bills that his parents paid. I don't know that that's of much interest.
Who sent this?
I think it's Mark Larson. And he's not, I think he's moved out of the area recently.
So his parents lived at 421 Holcomb?
Yes, I at least as one, I think they moved around a couple times in the city, but that's the main.
I'm not sure where on Holcomb that is.
If you
Closer to the
driven or
bridge
walked
or-
by, it's currently under construction as a new home. Well, I don't know if it's a new home or if it's a remodel. but
Oh, so it's on that first block of Holcomb?
Yeah,
Coming up, and this is
it's
where-
got one of the
yeah.
high pitched
Right,
roofs.
right.
I think the tire is on it right now. I don't know if they put the siding on. So anyway, I've got that for you if you want to check it out later. And then I figured we'd just store this, and then when it comes time at the library, we could cycle all this in there if there's interest. But that's all I've got for announcements for you.
Okay, so there's nothing else happening and people ask me, people ask me from time to time about the Lucky store. Is there any update on that?
That is a hot topic of discussion. No, we haven't. I think we heard from a member of the public who had talked about Albertson and said they were gonna put it on the market. They told us in a couple of weeks, and that discussion happened 3 weeks ago or so. I haven't seen it on the market, so I don't really know what the status is, but we haven't had any conversations with anybody about the future of that property. So for now, it's still something.
What is the zoning?
That one is, I believe it's transitional downtown. So there's a few different zonings in the downtown area. I think there's 3.
So is this just the plot underneath the old Lucky's, or is it more of the center?
The land division there is very interesting. So the gas station is its own property, the strip center is its own property. And then Albertsons owns, I'd say, a majority of it. You could probably think of it as like a pie slice where the crust of the pie would be the back of the Lucky's building. And then they own, I'd say, a majority of the parking lot. But the lot lines are not perfectly straight like you would hope they would be.
Interesting. Okay. Well, keep us posted.
I thought it was zoned for housing, high density housing.
It was a site on the city's housing inventory, or its housing element, so it could be in the future, there's a provision written into the housing element that says if a future applicant provides a grocery store, I think it was 7,500 square feet to 30,000, something like that, I'd have to double check, then they would get some benefits towards a housing project, but without a grocery store, it will just go through whatever the standard process is for whatever somebody proposes at that property.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I think it's time to move on to, there's no public hearings, there's no projects that we're looking at tonight. Business items, 5A, Baltimore Steps Rehabilitation Historic Consultant Quote Discussion.
And actually, as I'm sitting here, I'm realizing that the quotes are on my desk, so if you'll give me 30 seconds here, I'll go run and get a copy for everybody.
You guys have any other questions that we want to bring up to office in the staff report? That's not on.
Well, I don't have questions, but I wanted to, we didn't make copies, but these are the plaques. You want to take a picture, take a look at them. Oh, there's 5 plaques that we'll talk about. I think it's something, but just so you see the general list of them. This.
I think that was in the packet.
I just got this from them after the packet was produced. I don't know if either.
No, you have it.
Oh, I think you gave it to me. Thank you. I brought mine. I'll drop off the 6 brochures.
Oh. Good, yeah, well.
So-
It does.
Yeah, I want
Yeah.
to look at them.
Yeah.
So, yes, for a bit of context, we did reach out to Garofaglia about a quote. The total was about $4,700 for the gist of it would be to, visit the site, and look at, what its current status is, and then come to a determination on the best approaches for rehabilitation and, what level of cleaning that might require. And speaking of the cost, the Preservation Board does have, I believe, does have funds in its accounts to cover this quote. I need to do a little math with the finance department because I don't know if their current balance reflects the future invoicing that we're gonna get for the plaques. But in either case, I don't expect that the money, the cost of the plaques will be such that there's not $4,700 in there. I think there's about 35,000 in there right now.
In the book account, that is. Is that what you're
Yes,
talking
yeah,
about?
in
From the
book
sales
account.
of Larkspur past and present.
But
Thank
then-
goodness the treasurer kept track of
Yeah.
that.
Do we have the exact amount? Is it about?
Of the quote? Yeah, it would be $4,700.
Balance in the account.
Oh, I don't have the exact number. As it will stand after the plaques, but currently. Currently, there is $35,383.37 in that account.
Before plaques.
I think that accounts for one of the 3 plaque payments, so there's probably. Like Lelia might remember the total cost of the plaques better than I do. So
No, I don't.
I want to say it was 14,000, something
At
like
least,
that,
yeah.
yeah.
For 5 plaques, but if we are going to do another round of plaques,
It would be that much.
again. Alex, do we know, would Public Works be covering the cost of rehabilitating these steps?
That is probably a question that I would have to talk with Julian. I think it'll really depend on what the, what the proposed work is out there and the cost of that. I haven't spoken with Julian about whether Public Works will cover all the work themselves or if they will, seek to share some of the costs with the funds out of that
Right.
book account.
Right.
But we can certainly find that out.
And the other question I have about this quote is, I'm wondering if Jerry Cullen might, I think there's some issue about whether or not we can commission her right now because I think there's an insurance issue. But it seems like $4,700 seems really high to have somebody come out and look at the steps and just say, we need to clean and we need to move these stones, and especially because I don't know if you read Dick Cunningham's sort of study and description of the steps. It seems like he put 30 hours into that, and that's kind of doing a lot of the work for Garavalia, and I'm just wondering if it's possible to get a second quote.
So without getting too into the nitty gritty, yeah, we do currently have an issue with the insurance of one of our consultants. So I would have to ask city administration about that because I'm under the impression that until the auto insurance requirements are met, we can't have a consultant doing work without the required level of insurance just for liability reasons. I can certainly run that Dick Cunningham report by my contacts with Garavalia and see if maybe having that additional background research changes their estimate. I don't know that it would, but can certainly kick the tire and see what happens.
Oh, excuse me, what's the issue with the insurance? It's just not current?
I don't want to get too deep into it because it's not on the agenda, but yes, there is a minimum amount of auto insurance that the city requires consultants to have now. It's in the PSA, professional services agreement. It's a $2 million.
From consultant that just,
Yes, I've heard from every consultant I've talked to, believe me, they are not, they're all surprised by the requirements. So
was
yes,
there
that's
a
something we're
problem
working
with the
through.
consultant that occasioned this rule?
I don't know. I think it was just on advice that the city manager received from our risk assessment team.
Yeah, just if we can maybe talk to your contact, because for example, I see here, one of the line items is $900 for research/data analysis. And it seems like, I mean, Dick is pretty exhaustive when he goes into the archives and he goes page by page, the old newspaper. I mean, he could not find any photographs, and if anyone could find it, Dick Cunningham could. So I'm just wondering how much, if they could read his report and sort of see how much more they could find beyond what he provided. And I don't know, it just seemed a little high to me for some steps, but I don't know what we can do about that. I mean, usually I would say get a second quote, a second opinion.
Yes, I mean, as I think we're all aware, the city is in the midst of its RFQ process for historic consultants, and that has also been bogged down by this insurance. So It could be that once that is all sorted out, that we can have a roster that we can get another quote from, but just at this time, this is the only consultant that we have. So depending on the timeline, very possible, just right at this moment.
I mean, I don't want to hold the project up because of that, but I just, given that our finances are so tight and we have a limited, I mean, book sales, it's not like they're like flying off the shelves and.
Yeah, I don't think
funding
it exists anymore, book sales.
Right, so we don't have a lot of fundraising capabilities, so I just, I don't know, we can talk about more about how we want to proceed, especially once we know the cost, or maybe if Julian has looked at this too, maybe he might have some insight as to what Public Works might expect to spend. Anyway.
Yeah, I can certainly reach out to him and get an estimate. I think it will be hard to get that estimate before we have a consultant that's telling us the best way to go about it, but
Okay,
like I said, I can see, I can ask.
okay. Is this the time when we can open it up to public discussion about the steps?
Sure.
Is the microphone on over there?
You'll probably need to turn it on. It's just a switch on the top here that you push up and then just wait for the green light. When you're-
Should we come together?
Okay.
And if you could just state your name for the record. Thank you.
No.
That working?
Now,
My name is Tricia Lacey and I live at 110 Acacia Avenue in Larkspur, which is just above the steps.
And my name is Jill Sellers. I live right up the street on Pepper Avenue. And this has just kind of been in the back of my mind for a number of years, and my kids are finally grown, so I wanted to take this on as a project.
And for me, it's really one element of what I would love to see as a larger beautification project for the bike path. We've lived in our current house for, it'll be 10 years in October. I think everyone who lives in Larkspur just appreciates and utilizes the bike path, and it's something really special to our community. But it is increasingly, I don't know the right way to say this, it's not looking, it's not looking good. My husband calls it a graveyard of dead tree limbs, because we have lost so many trees in the past few years, some to winds and storms, and there are a number of acacias that, as we know, just fall over, and the town will come through and cut them, but then they're not removing the tree limbs. And if you go for a walk right now, you can see piles and piles of dead tree limbs. And trunks. And then I'm also concerned about the fact that these trees are coming down and they're not being replanted. And then simply just the weeds, and there's an opportunity to make this a really beautiful space. I think you can look at Tiburon and their bike path as inspiration, and I would love to be part of a larger project. And the staircase is just one opportunity, but that area gets a lot of traffic, and it could be kind of a showcase that we could restore the steps to their one-time glory, clean up the area around it, and also do some additional plantings. And I'm thinking natives and low water and poppies, and it could be a really beautiful highlight.
Yes, I support Tricia 100% on this. I think that the area where the steps are is one component of that nexus of the bike path right there. Could be almost a park-like setting. I know we're not in a position to redo the entire bike path in both directions, but we can start right there, and the steps will be part of that and build it out. In regards to the actual steps, I guess my questions, I certainly concur with you, Hillary, that the phase three item is not necessary, which would really reduce the quote by $900. And some of the rest of this, it doesn't necessarily, to me, seem like it's necessary. I'm not completely familiar with the paradigm under which you guys sort of work. And I don't know if we have to have a historic consultant on this, given that we understand what it looks like. and we see examples of the exact same type of stonework around town, that we could certainly emulate and bring this back to that condition. I think the Cunningham report really summed up the situation, and to me, this seems like a waste of money. So, but I don't know if you are required to have this in order to move forward.
That's a good question.
Are you saying the entire idea of the study is not worth the money?
So in my opinion,
Yeah.
it's not necessarily worth the money, because we have the Cunningham report. We understand what history exists of the staircase. We have examples both at the Blue Rock Hotel and at the property across from Pico here. Yes, of the exact same type of stonework. We know what kind of stones are used, and it simply kind of needs to be rebuilt in that vein if we want to keep it historical in nature. So to me, doing a giant, $5,000 project just to assess the fact that we're going to rebuild it to look just like it looks right now, but better, and, emulate these is not necessary. But again, I don't know if you are required to do this.
That's a good question. Alex, what do you think? If something is on the historic inventory, which these steps are?
I would say that because they're on the inventory, the California Environmental Quality Act says that we have to do our due diligence about the potential impacts. I certainly agree. I understand everyone's points about having this research. But the city would have to, just like with the city can't hold itself to a different standard that it would hold a residential project. If somebody were to do work on their historic home, they would be required to get a historic consultant to evaluate that and evaluate the current state of them, even if we have documentation that says, what the historic integrity, or what historic integrity that structure has. It's still something that we can't. It has to be, CEQA requires us to evaluate pretty much everything in order to exempt it from a further environmental review. So I certainly see where you're coming from. It's not something that. I think there's definitely a conversation to be had about utilizing this background research to lower the price of a consultant review. I don't see a path forward where there's no consultant review of work on a historic resource, though.
Okay.
My
So-
other questions, which you might not be able to answer, is just sort of a sense of timeline. And then I am curious about, various budget pools. And I guess it'll depend on getting an estimate.
And can I just, to add on to that, when I first, Tricia and I have been friends for a long time, we've talked about this on and off for a long time. My original vision prior to understanding that this was under the purview of the historic board was to simply raise money from people on Palm Hill, hire somebody and get it done. That was before I, understood all of this. So do these things tend to be done in a public-private partnership? Is there typically fundraising from the outside? Does the city have to take on the whole responsibility?
It's probably a conversation, if we're talking about greater work on the bike trail and right of way, it's probably a conversation that will have to be had with Public Works. And I know some portions of the bike trail, I don't know I think in that particular area, it's city property, but there are some portions that I believe the city doesn't own outright. So in terms of a public-private partnership, probably possible. I know they've done that with, things for the library project, so I could imagine there is a path forward that way. And in terms of overall cost and timeline, it will depend, I think, on, what this result comes back with, and then if we're talking about, working on city property, that's something that the city council is gonna need to likely get involved in. So that's, it's above this board and above my pay grade to really comment on.
I wonder if there's a way to create some sort of umbrella, kind of maybe call it the Baltimore Station project, and kind of roll the steps in with the greater beautification. And by doing that, you would create an avenue for the public participation, as well as, of course, the things that would have to be monitored and financed by the city. I'm just thinking of a way to kind of create a project that incorporates maybe the community foundation, public, investment, and maybe a little bit of the Heritage Board money too for the steps. So I don't know how these things work, but I'm sure there's paths going forward.
Yeah, there's definitely paths. What I would say is when we're talking about, city property, it is gonna be something that the city council is going to have to direct staff and public works to do and disperse funds on. I think from what I'm hearing, what I might recommend is that, we have this discussion now, and then at your next meeting, I can return. I'll speak with the city clerk about the details, but we can either return at another meeting and have you send a recommendation to either your liaison or to your city council liaison or to the council itself. And say that this is what you would like to have done in conjunction with this step rehabilitation. And then it would be up to them to be the final decision maker on what projects, what size and scope of project moves forward out of that.
So it's up to the city council.
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking about, work on city property, and likely of the scale that I think we're talking about, I think that goes likely beyond the spending authority of staff, to do. But it would, again, it will all need to be, worked out exactly what the end goal is, and then we work, determine how we get there and what the costs would be. So it'll take a little bit of background research and work.
What about the Park and Recreation Board? Do they still have a board, or do they look at this kind of thing?
They do. I'd have to talk with the Park and Recs director about what purview they have over that area. I'm not sure if they have a purview over the bike path or if it's just the actual
Maybe not.
parks itself.
Supposedly
You will know more than me, but in a little bit of research I did, my understanding was that the benches and the tree donations all came through Park and Rec.
That sounds right. There haven't been any, those don't come across my desk, so I don't really,
Yeah.
I'm not too involved with
But
that
that makes
process, but
sense.
that
Yeah.
does.
That's the way it is in the dog park, I know that.
And I did have a preliminary meeting last May, June, time has gotten away from me, with the Larkspur Community Foundation, and they were definitely interested in partnering, but also recognize that this potentially is a very large scale budget, but also something that doesn't have to happen overnight. The steps are a critical issue because it's a safety concern. And they're just continuing to get worse, and I'm afraid that someone's gonna fall, and then that's gonna be a whole other issue for the town of Larkspur. The trees, even if we could plant 3 trees a year over 10 years, that makes a difference.
Yeah, and I do think that that area ultimately most likely does fall under the purview of this board because it is the historic train station right there, and there are already historic markers in place and whatnot, most likely in conjunction with Parks and Rec. I just wanted to share briefly, a similar non-historic project that I'm doing in Corte Madera. Right now, we have a public-private partnership set up to redo one of the soccer fields in Town Park. It's a $250,000 project, and I'm currently fundraising $50,000 for the soccer Corte Madera FC Soccer League, whatever they're soccer club, and the city is contributing $200,000. And they've set up a special fund by which we are, I'm getting the donations in, and that money will live there in perpetuity. We went through a lower board, the Parks and Rec board there. I'm calling you guys a lower board, sorry. And then on up to the town council to get it approved in the workflow for this year. But it's been very smooth. And so I'm happy to talk to somebody about that offline if that type of model is something that we want to pursue in terms of funding.
I think partnering with the community foundation is a great idea. I think because,
Well, and they have a section, the Helen High Camp Fund portion, that's specifically for historic preservation.
yeah,
So it's good to tap into that, and this seems appropriate.
yeah. So Alex, what do you think going forward, if we have another board meeting in March? What do you foresee as being the next steps?
I'd have to do a little, I have to discuss with likely the director and the city manager about the best way to bring that forward, but I think, like I said, probably, at least at your next meeting, having an item on there for you to formally send a recommendation to your liaison to bring up with the council, and then they can discuss it at a meeting.
Can we do that now?
That's not on the agenda as an action item, so no, you cannot.
Oh, you mean we have to have it be on our agenda as an action item
Yeah,
before we
it's gotta
can
be-
send it to
Yeah,
our liaison?
that's my understanding. I'll talk with the city clerk and see if that's, doesn't work around it, but from my understanding, you do need a formal action listed on the agenda.
Oh, that's so interesting. So having it as a business item is not formal enough?
Not quite. No.
Not quite, okay. So in other words, it's gonna take another month before we can even request our liaison to bring it forth to the city council.
Conservatively, yes, like I said, if there's, I can let them know that this is your wish and maybe they can take it up on their own accord without having a formal
Well, should we
recommendation.
take a vote that we want to pursue this project?
It's, again, it's on for just a discussion item.
Oh, so we can't?
There's no action being taken on the agenda, yeah.
Is it appropriate for me to say that I'm having lunch with our liaison tomorrow? And can I talk to her about it informally?
Yeah.
Good.
Okay, I just want to make sure. All right. So at this point, that's about all as far as we can get on this. And it sounds like the ball is really in Alex's court in terms of,
Yeah, I've heard what the wishes are from everybody here, so I can definitely move forward now that I've got the full breadth of what everybody's looking for. We can, yes, get the ball rolling.
Thank you. Thanks for your time.
thank you for
and
coming.
attention to this.
Yeah,
Thank you for bringing the project idea up.
yeah. So this is probably gonna take some time, it sounds like. Months, but it's okay, because I think these things do take time, right? All right, next item. The charrette discussion, City Hall last night.
I don't have much. Yes, there was a public workshop. I think at least two of you were there.
3 of us.
Oh, okay, all right. And so, yes, they did hold a quick little rundown of the historic structures report that they're working on, and then they have different workstations for people to come by and provide feedback. So this item, the consultant is taking public comments based off of that workshop to factor into their historic structures report. That's my understanding. So if the board would like to, you can up to two people could volunteer to work on it, on a comment letter, and send it off to the consultant, or if you want to just discuss here, and then I can compile your thoughts and send it off, however you'd like to do it.
So I didn't have as much of a chance to really thoroughly look at the boards the storyboards that they had presented. So for myself, I feel like I want to go on the city website, right? That's where all that material is, and
Yeah, it should be. I think there's a whole webpage for the rehabilitation effort.
For the reports that they gave, the printout or.
I think my understanding is I think that the presentation will be put on the website for everybody to watch. I don't know how much of the things people stuck on the individual poster boards. I don't know if that will make it on, but I can find out.
but the architectural drawings that they had, and you know, the photographs and the different stages, the 5 to 10 year plan, the 10 to 15 year plan, all that's going to be on their website.
I assume so. I'm not that's going to be up to
Yeah, I
up
think
to
they said
Julie.
last.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they said it will be up there. I would defer to what you.
Are we ready to have a discussion about this, or do we feel that we want to kind of think about it and appoint 2 people, a non-quorum number to? How do we want to proceed with this?
Well, we certainly want to keep on top of what's coming about is a real decision, you know, when it gets to that stage. And if we have any input, we probably want to make ourselves heard soon.
Right. And public outreach, I think, is a really big point. I don't think they're going to have another one of these charrettes. Did I get that right? I think I heard that last night.
Yeah, this would be
It's
the only
one.
charrette for the historic structures report, and then there'll be more outreach. Well, I think the second step is likely what the board would be more interested in. I don't want to speak for you, but I think the second stage is really where we get into the future of this building, whereas this portion and this report is really more of a fact finding, what the costs are of what people want to see based off of the feedback.
So when do they decide which of the options they'll choose, the short term, middle term, or long term?
So my understanding of the whole process is essentially, the consultant has gotten feedback. They're gonna go off and work on their historic structures report. And then they will return to the council who will review it. And that's where they'll describe the costs associated with, this 5 to 10 year, 10 to 25, so forth, what each of those would look like, fiscally, for the city. And then the city council would decide, which one to move forward with.
Do you know if they felt they got good feedback?
I haven't
Yeah.
spoken to them since that, but
It's-
while I was there, it seemed like there was a lot of interaction going on.
Yeah.
It seemed it was a very, very popular event, so I'm sure they got lots of good feedback.
Yeah, and they'll get more, I think, as the word kind of spreads, and I don't know if they have a forum online to get comments from people, but I'm sure people will chat with their friends and neighbors and talk about it. I think things will start building. I don't know that we need to formally comment on anything right now. What do you
I'd
think?
rather wait and see
Yeah,
what's the real options. I
Yeah.
mean, of course, we want the building preserved.
right. And they did say that last night. They said that this building is going to stay a public building.
Mhm.
They reiterated that, so.
But I don't know if we're in a position to decide where we want the uses to be.
Yeah, all of that would be in the second stage of this, yeah.
Well, thank you for letting us know about the meeting, Alex, even if I missed your email.
Oh, it's fine.
I'm sorry.
No worries.
I was like, I just heard about this meeting tomorrow. What's going on? Poor
Oh,
Alex.
Part of the job. No.
But yes, keep up the good work with letting us know if we miss something.
Yes, I'll try to keep you all in the loop as best I can.
mhm.
Okay, so, next, ready to move on? So, business item C, the Bon Air Center Community Fair discussion.
I'll just really briefly provide context. I think I emailed everybody with the link to the sign up for this, but it's an event that they're gonna hold Saturday, May 10th. And if the board wishes, it could submit an application to have a table there and have a couple of representatives. It would be limited to 2 people at a time. And the director and I were just thinking of what, and of course you can, this is what we're here for, what you might do at that table. We thought you could, have copies of the past and present book to either, give away or to have for
We have
donation.
very few.
I think there's, about 40 copies is what I've heard, more or less.
Well, I have like 2 boxes in my garage.
Oh, okay, I think our number is based off of our.
I think I have one of each, boxes, both. But I tend to think they're soft back, but I'll look. It's been a
So you
while.
said we can offer them for donation and not sell them, but say.
Yes, there are tax issues with selling them. There's no tax ID set up for it, and it's likely that doing all the work to get them so they can be sold would cost more than we would generate from the sales of those books.
We have a suggested donation?
Well,
$4,700.
have maybe an auction, not an auction, but
A
a
raffle,
raffle.
win a free book. If people,
But they're that scarce and valuable. Done to make something like that, not just be.
Yeah, they are. I mean, and we're not gonna reprint. I mean, that's not in the horizon, I don't think.
thing.
Yeah, I mean, you only have to give away one or two of them for
Right.
the entire day.
Right.
And you can collect names and email information from people.
Mhm.
I like that idea. So May 10th, we have to fill out an application.
Yeah, I can forward it to you again, but in the first email, there should be, I think it's a hyperlink from the organizer, and you just fill out. It's just generic, what you're looking to do, what your point of
That,
contact
and
is.
it's, when we have time to, I felt like, well, no, we have to decide now, but then when I clicked on it, it was pretty, we had.
Mm.
But in addition to raffling off books, like what else does the table do? We have stickers still.
Oh, yes, we do. And a basket and brochures
What do you mean? Dick Cunningham's little booklet?
on City Hall.
Yeah.
I've got a
Or
couple
maybe
of,
we want to save
banners.
that for a city hall meeting or something.
oh, we have a lot of
Oh, no.
those.
Oh, we
Isn't
have
this like a good, yeah, a
Oh,
good
okay.
opportunity to raise,
Yeah.
city hall awareness?
Well, and
Yeah.
if we can give those away, that's a good giveaway.
I think so. Yeah, I do. And I
Yeah,
have
yeah.
a nice big banner that I put on my car for the 4th of July parade. I have two of those. You can put it on the table, in front of the table, and it has the City Hall like that
Oh,
on it.
nice.
And then, of course, the stickers. We've got some swag. I mean, if we want to get some candy or something, give it away too, but
Want to make sure I put it on my calendar.
yeah.
So, yeah, I was the one who was like, oh, I'm into this. Does anybody want to do it with me? And then my cousin said her baby shower maybe that day.
Yeah, that's what, things like that happen.
Yeah, which I would miss, like a regular party, but baby showers.
No, you have to be there.
So if that's the date.
I have it on my calendar already, so.
But everybody, I think, responded, like, I think there will be plenty of.
If we do it in shifts,
Yeah, how long is when's it start?
It wasn't that long, it's like 10 to 2. or-
Yeah, I think it's
remember
only a
thinking it
few
could be
hours.
2 hour and I thought it could break up into 2-hour shifts, which I
Oh.
thought felt like.
Yeah.
That's easy.
yeah,
I
that's
mean,
easy.
Doable.
Yeah. Of
Okay.
course, then there's setup and takedown, I don't know how much time.
The fair runs from 11 to 2 p.m.
Oh.
So I don't know how much.
Oh, so
Set
it's
up and
only
tear.
3 hours.
Only 3 hours.
So I think.
Yeah.
Or either side for.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
yeah, I think that's great. So
Good.
10:30 to 2:30 kind of.
Okay.
And we'll have a meeting or two before that anyway.
So we can decide how many books we want to raffle off. If we want to do that.
All right, so, approval of the November 26th meeting minutes. I read them over. I didn't see any typos. I didn't see anything that was glaringly wrong or missing.
Seemed fine to me too.
Should we approve those?
I would move.
Oh, okay.
I'll second it.
All right, all in favor? Aye.
I,
Okay, it's unanimous. Right, election of chair and vice chair. How do we go about this, Alex?
Yes, so at the start of every year, every board commission chooses a vice chair and chair. You can keep everything totally the same, you can switch it up, completely up to you. What we'll need is essentially the same as the previous motion. You would nominate, get a second, hold a vote for the chair and then for the vice chair. You can appoint or you can motion or nominate member Goldberg should you wish.
even if she's not.
Even if she's not here.
They said don't go to the bathroom during the nomination process.
Yes,
Has anybody talked to Carol about that?
Well, I know what we've done in the past, right, has been the vice chair usually moves up, right?
I
Only
nominate
one.
Hillary. Are you nominating one?
No, we can keep the chair and the vice chair. You do have to nominate and vote again. but
I
you can keep it the
re-nominate
same.
Hillary.
I second that, Hillary, if you're willing.
You're welcome.
And if you guys want me to, I
Oh,
will.
yes. Oh,
Okay,
great job.
Yeah, all right, happy to, thank you.
Yeah.
All right. So
Wow,
I
okay.
say,
So we,
unanimous?
yeah, I'll just roll call it really quickly so we
All
get
right.
it on the record.
Okay.
Yes, member Storek, if I could get a yes, member Langto,
Yes.
Chair Colhane,
Yes.
and member Galan.
Yes.
Okay, there we go.
So Ken, Sonia, do you still want to be vice chair or would anybody else like to be vice chair?
I always feel bad because I come in really hot from like being at work and dropping my daughter, and I'm always like. flipping
But
it.
that's okay, because you're doing behind the scenes work.
I am.
Yeah, I mean, you're the only one to check the Bon Air
Okay.
website. So unless somebody
Yeah.
else wants to
No, I
step
think
up and
that's-
be vice chair, Carol. But I mean, I.
We won't
think
do that
we-
to her.
We just. Yeah. Okay,
So I would like to nominate Sonia to continue as vice chair.
I second.
In favor.
All in favor? Do you have to roll call that one too?
Yeah, just for the record, yeah, member Storick,
Yes.
member Longo,
Yes,
member Colhane,
Yes.
and member Golan.
Yes,
Okay.
thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you.
Great.
Okay.
well, that was easy.
Yeah,
This is organic.
yes. All right, moving on. Board member reports. I think we've covered pretty much everything. Rich, do you have anything? I'm curious, can I ask you? Anything new with, the rancheria? And,
Well, as a matter of fact, we have a new connection with them. We have been working with them for almost 3 years. Pratt and Rancheria, the New York, Coast New York Federated Indians of Pratt and Rancheria on our 20,000 year project. And it's been really interesting and difficult to get them engaged in creating the content.
Is
But
that right?
In it, you know, we built up a gradual connection with them and confidence, and I on 2 or 3 occasions I've mentioned the Larkspur project. And it's kind of a vague acknowledgement. I think Hector is the one he's been the contact.
yeah,
I've never talked to Hector, but I've seen his name a couple of times on the communications back and forth. All I can say, I guess, is that I can raise it again and ask if does he remember what's been asked and what can they do? It's very interesting. And here's this tribe, it's a federated tribe. And they are claiming the rights to all Coast New York representation in Marin, even though there's a local group which is not federated called the Coast New York Tribal Council of Marin. And that tribal council of about, now they're up to about 12, 14 people. They are the culture bearers. They know the stories, they know the songs, they know the words, they have the regalia, they can tell you stuff about Coast New York. Pratt and Rancheria does not. They don't seem to have any of that interpretive material. But they're a big donor to our project. And so we're working exclusively with them. City of San Rafael insists that they be the ones we work with. I don't know what to say about the Larkspur project, you know, how to get through to them. If you have any correspondence with Hector, send it to me, let them have that.
okay.
That would
I don't have anything recent. I mean, it's been probably a year and a half, maybe
Yeah.
2 years. I think since a Zoom meeting, I think we had a Zoom meeting with him
Yeah,
on it, but, that was the last conversation.
I think in fairness, they're inundated with requests from teachers in classrooms and tell us your story.
Mhm,
They just don't have the bandwidth to do it very well.
mhm.
Well, our next batch of plaques, we do want one for them.
Definitely. And maybe once they see this first batch, I'm sure at some point they will get down to Larkspur. And hopefully they would reach out, or we could maybe set up, just a site visit almost to just, even if they don't have the content ready, and it seems like the approval process is very lengthy there. and-
Yeah, it is, what we found, though, I have historians and scientists and artists working on our project. So we're saying, okay, we will tell your story. We've read the literature, we've read what your chairman has written, we've read everything. And distill that into the story of the Coast Miwok. We just want now for efficiency, we want you to be able to review it and approve it. So we're not looking to you to create something and tell us, you know, which we originally really thought they would want to do. But there's other people in there, you know, they've got daytime jobs in there. Yeah,
Okay.
pretty interesting experience.
Well, I think it's interesting, maybe this isn't the time and place for that discussion, but that there's like two different representatives. One's federated and one's not.
Yeah, and the local Marin group, which has a lot of following in Marin, tribal council, they feel very neglected and unacknowledged by the federated.
Well, if we wanted to do a plaque, could we just talk to them directly?
Sure you could.
And they could-
I'll connect you with them. I think that would be
That would
very
be a
appropriate.
better.
Yeah.
They would even tell us a good
Yeah, I think Brad
location.
wouldn't care, you know, these guys would
Wow.
give me an idea of what you're looking for. What kind of,
Well, first of all, we have to find a place to put a plaque for them. Did you suggest kind of near a marshy area? But I don't know.
I think Maryland did.
What they might think is a good place would be a question for us.
yeah, and that's another topic, because, you know.
Right.
Marin, you know, part of the research we've been doing on our project is that there have been, in history, there have been documented 465 shell mounds all around the Bay Area.
Wow.
And some of these shell mounds are spectacular, 30 feet high and 400 feet long.
But they wouldn't want to advertise with the one
Oh,
would
no.
be in Larkspur.
Yes.
You
And
know, a lot of people
nobody,
digging.
I don't know where it is, but that's a sensitive issue
Right.
with them. It's like, you know, what are you gonna do? Where are you gonna put something? You know, like you said, you know, looking for utility wires underground when you're digging a post hole.
Right,
Well, you know, what about remnants? What about,
right.
you know, some indication of, but they do have archaeologists on board that are able to come out and take a look at a site anytime you do excavation. And sure enough, they find stuff and it's all
Wow.
amazing. Just the
Wow.
Yeah,
thought that,
I heard about what they found at Rose Lane.
oh, yeah.
Right.
Tons of stuff
Right.
there.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we don't really care where the plaque is. I mean, it could be anywhere here in the city where they think it might be appropriate.
I'll go to work on that.
All right, okay. And then we can come up with our wording and then ask them to,
For the first
You
plaques,
do
though,
it.
can you give me the content that's on those first plaques so I can?
yeah. Alex, were you gonna send me?
Yeah, I can pull up the,
Okay. These aren't, I passed them around, but you can all get them.
So you're gonna show that to them as an example of the kind of
Yeah,
marker that we're
and
doing?
there are 4 more to go,
5.
5 to go.
Well, it doesn't have to be. You know.
And yeah, it would probably take another year or so to
Oh,
the
yeah.
next batch
No,
ready.
Yeah.
I'm talking with the local guys frequently, and my goal has been to say, I know that you guys are not friendly with each other. And I would like to see a reconciliation, at least on our project.
Hmm.
Yeah, wow.
This is a 2-mile project with the different historic stations
Wow.
that explain what happens over 20,000 years.
Yeah.
And the Coast Miwok, part of that is the major part. They've been here, I'm telling them, they don't say this, they say, we've been here since time immemorial. Well, they found archaeological evidence that they've been here for about 10, 12,000 years, and
Wow.
that's in the shell mounds. They've done carbon dating and so on. Oh, okay. I said, no, wait a minute. There's some real interesting evidence that humans came through here way earlier than that. And if those are your ancestors and they settled here, you can claim 15, 16,000 years. You know.
Hmm.
And interest in this is a fascinating subject. National Geographic has a project that's been going on now for 10 years. One of their members has been walking for 10 years out of Africa, from East Africa, facing human migration.
What?
He's now in China,
Really?
and he is on his way over through Asia, down the Bering Strait. He's gonna be coming down through San Rafael. So I'm in touch with National Geographic and saying, hey, we have this project, which is celebrating the history of people here in the Bay Area for 20,000 years. So when Paul Salopek makes his way down through San Rafael, on his way to the tip of South America, by the way, let's have an event.
Yeah.
Let's get some Thule boats out there and celebrate the fact that these early humans come through. So anyway,
That's exciting.
That is.
Wow. Well, I had done a draft of a plaque. And I based it, unbeknownst to me, that there was this rift. So I had based it off of the Coast Miwok Council, because they have a website.
yes.
And I'm like, this is great information, and I kind of made it, so that it would be appropriate for Larkspur. And I sent it to the Rancheria, not realizing that there was a difference. And I forget who it was, because it was so long ago, but she looked at it and she said, well, a lot of the information about our people is inaccurate. And I was like, but I came off I got it from your website, and she was just like,
So
Oh.
could that have been Laurel Ross?
no, it wasn't her. I want to say
How about,
Bettina. I have it in my, we can talk offline
let's
about
do
that, yeah.
Let's do that.
Yeah, but it was really funny, because I was like, what do you mean? I got it off your website.
Well, can I safe to say that you two would come up with what to say on a plaque and where to put it?
Well, Rich has the resources. I'm happy to help with the writing,
Okay,
but
and we have a PhD historian working on our project. He's been able to research and put the information together, which we're saying to Grattan, Rancheria. Here, we think this is your story. It's okay. We're okay with that. We want you to sign on.
so you want to look at our stats too? Just kidding. All right, let's see, getting back to business. Okay, I think that's it for board member reports. Sonia, Livia, anything else you'd like to add tonight?
Nothing from me.
Yes. We got a lot done. I think it's time to adjourn. Do we need a motion for that?
We could do an all in favor for adjournment.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. That's it.
I thought it was saying all in favor.